Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 3D Printing 101. I'm Caleb, and in the last lesson, we finally got our first print up and running. But if you're anything like me, then you're probably pretty antsy to start printing things besides just this weird test print. It's just a cat or whatever else that you have. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through Thingiverse, which is just a free online tool that you can use to download 3D models super easily. There are millions of files, definitely thousands, I think millions. And I'm going to show you how to use a slicer to convert those files into ones that you can use on your 3D printer. So without further ado, let's get started. So you'll notice that I'm not where I usually am. That's because we need to be at a computer for this. So if you're not at a computer right now, pause the video, go find a computer, and start playing it again. So when we open our computers, we go to a new tab and type in thingiverse.com. This is the website that we'll be using. So if you scroll down, you can look at a bunch of the examples of files. There are ads placed in here, but all the files that you see here are 100% free. So let's say we click on these ones. There's an ad. So here is AA and AAA battery holder organizer for drawer. Right here is where you'll see the title of the thing. Things are what we call 3D models on this website. Here is the designer name, designer profile, when it was published, and here it says that it is remixed. So if we go down here, this is the file that's shown, and if we click through the images, sometimes they'll have physical pictures, and sometimes they'll have pictures of the file. File is linked with the name of the file here, so it's easy to maneuver and figure out which one you need. So if we go down here, you'll see the thing details. Here's the summary. I have a bunch of batteries and wanted to put them in a shallow drawer without using too much filament, so I made this. The walls were designed by another user linked in the remixes. So remixes, if you remix a file, if you remix a thing, that just means you take the original design and you make changes to it somehow. If you make changes to a thing, then you're supposed to post it back on Thingiverse for everyone to see and link it to the original file. So what he's saying here is that he found a file on Thingiverse of the walls. So it was probably just a square of the walls or some other product that used those walls. Then he took that design because the designer of those posted the design files for people to use and remix, and he turned it into this. So pretty interesting. It's kind of like sampling in hip hop. So you can do it, but you have to credit the original creator of that sound. So the summary here, sometimes the thing details are helpful and sometimes they are kind of just weird little blurbs that aren't really super informative. Here you can see the print settings, and this is just what he used to print with. This can be helpful, especially when you're starting out. Figuring out the right print settings for every different thing that you want to print can be difficult. So if you find something you want to print, you go down here. If you copy these and just use a little bit of your knowledge that you're going to learn in this course, then you can probably make a pretty accurate, pretty good decision about what to do. Now, if you click on Files, as we already covered, you can click the Download All Files button, but sometimes you don't want to download all of them. See, so let's say I just had AAA batteries and I only wanted the V2, the newest one. I can just go here, click Download, and it downloads it. It's right in my Downloads folder. Open in Cura. This is, we'll get to this in a minute, but Cura is the slicer I'm going to be showing you how to use today. It is by the same company that created Thingiverse. Now, if we go to comments, you can see people contributed to this. You have to log in order to comment. So if you don't have an account, then you won't be able to comment or post your makes or remixes. Makes are where you will see if a user on Thingiverse, someone with an account, makes the item, they can take a picture of it and post it in Makes for everybody to see. Remixes, we already talked about it. And if anyone remixes this object, it'll just show up here. And let's go back. So now that you know the basic layout of Thingiverse, we're going to go back to home in the top left. And so all of the ones that you see here are ranked by the most popular in the last 30 days. You can see the criteria up here. So most popular last 30 days, all things, filter by. And if you want to filter by something else, you can click there. So if we click most popular this year, it's a completely different set of files. Bunch of super cool files. So we're going to go back. If you go to all things, click on this, you can pick different categories of things. So let's say I wanted to make a chess set. So what does that fit into? 3D printing, gadgets, learning, models, hobby, art. Probably fits into toys and games. So if we click on toys and games, we can either have the more broad category of toys and games, and that's just what all of this is, or we can get more specific, chess. That's exactly what we want. Construction toys, dice, games, mechanical toys, playsets, puzzles, toy and game accessories. I want chess. Modernist chessboard. This looks good. This one. Oh, just clicking on the user profile on accident. So here, yep, see a picture. Nice. And here you can also click a 3D view, spin around to see the whole object. Files. And yeah, so there are so many files here because a chessboard is pretty big. So yeah, instead of going through each one individually and clicking through, that's going to take a while. So click download all files. Super easy. You don't have to tip the designer. It's just a suggestion. Everything on Thingiverse is totally free. And yeah, so if we go back to Thingiverse, let's search Benchy. Now we're going to go through here and say most makes. So the top ranked one is hashtag 3D Benchy, the Jolly 3D printing torture test by creativetools.se. The 3D Benchy is one of the most popular first prints in the world. It's hugely popular. Let's look. 801 comments. The files have 3.73 thousand views, right? Or downloads, rather. 3,073,000 downloads. And it's different for all of them. Some of them are more, some of them are less. But here, I do not want to print all of the individual pieces. What I want to do is I want just this one. Just the whole part put together. So I'm going to click download. Puts it right in my downloads folder. So let's see. Creative Tools supplies 3D printer and 3D scanner products, including filaments, accessories, and support, and also software for leading CAD, modeling, animation, and rendering. Hashtag 3D Benchy is a 3D model designed by us at Creative Tools specifically for testing and benchmarking 3D printers. It is a small, recognizable object that you can download for free, make, and share. It is designed to 3D print quickly and be a fun tool for calibrating your 3D printer. There is a single part STL file for 3D printing the boat in one material and a multi-part STL assembly that's suitable for multi-material printhead 3D printing. So I'm not going to go into the specifics of how a 3D Benchy works necessarily right now, but let me know if that is something that you guys want to see in the future. So basically, the idea of the 3D Benchy is, let's see if we can get a good picture here. Yeah, so this is a cross section of it, and it has all of these different angles, very small details like right here, at the top, and it just, depending on what your printer can actually do, determines some of the issues you might have, some calibrating things that you might need to change, and it's basically just a test print. That's all it is. So I guess you can put it in water too. Could be a little bath toy. Maybe I'll do that. I don't want to do that. Okay, so unfortunately, we can't just, at least not yet, we can't just download these files and print them directly. Like we talked about in the first lesson, you can't print STLs directly on your printer. You have to use what's called a G-code file. So in order to do that, we need a slicer. So Ultimaker Cura is a free, easy to use 3D printing software trusted by millions of users. Fine-tune your 3D model with 400 plus settings for best slicing and printing results. Ultimaker Cura is one of the most popular slicing tools in the world. So let's go through how to download that. Here's how to download Cura. First, enter a new tab and search Ultimaker Cura download. Then click on this link. Click download for free. Choose your current operating system. Allow. You can X out of this. And it should be sent to your downloads folder. Once it's done, double click to open. Agree. Drag Ultimaker Cura into your applications folder. Now search Ultimaker Cura. Click open. This is just the walkthrough, but we can skip this mostly for now. You can select your printer. I have a Creality Ender 3 Pro. And now you can begin to use it in your workflow. All right, so here we are in Ultimaker Cura. So just some basic maneuvering techniques for the software. If you click the scroll wheel on your mouse pad, you hold it down, you can pan. You can pan, drag to the left, pan, drag to the right. If you want to spin like this, that just involves holding the right clicker, and you can spin all the way around. It limits you at the bottom, and it limits you at the top, just to keep it straight up and down and make it simple to use. So if we look at the top here, we'll have the 3D printer that I currently have set up. I have the Ender 3 Pro, but if you want to add a printer, let's say I had multiple different kinds of printers, I could add a printer here, and not a networked printer. Be a non-networked printer, and just look through the different brands here. Let's say I had one of these. I would just click add, but I don't, so we're just going to stick with this. Now up here, you have the material information. This is going to depend on what material you're printing with at that time, and this will massively change the settings. Like we talked about, PLA prints at a cooler temperature than something like ABS or PETG. So the PLA, let's see here, I have PLA selected. And yeah, the nozzle size. Like I mentioned earlier in a different lesson, 0.4 millimeters is the most common nozzle size. But if you want to be sure that your printer has it, you can look. If your printer has an instruction manual, it's probably in there, or you can do a quick Google search, type your printer name, and then say nozzle size default, and it should come up. So I'm good here. PLA 0.4 millimeter nozzle. So now if we go to the top left here, click on this little file folder, you'll see in our downloads, we've got 3D Benchy, and it puts it right on the build surface. So you can spin all the way around it. You can zoom in and out. Yeah, to zoom, you scroll in and out. File has been modified. The file has not actually been modified, so it doesn't matter what you click here. But if you are, let's say you're designing something and you're saving multiple versions of it, you keep updating the design. You don't have to delete the model and then bring it back into the slicer. You can just hit reload and it'll fix it for you. So you can spin all the way around here. Look at the bottom. So we click the top right. That now. This is a lot of information. We don't need all of that right now. So if we just click on the recommended, that's going to give us just the basics. So the resolution is 0.12, 0.16, 0.2, and 0.28. Generally what I use is 0.2 millimeters. That's going to work for most different projects because it is not too low quality and it's not too high quality. If you have it too high of a quality, then it can complicate some things. It can also just make it a much longer print. Not can, it will. But it will have a smoother finish. If it's low quality, then it's just gonna be low quality. The different millimeters just refers to the layer height. So when you see resolution, you see all these little things, that is what that means. Print settings. Infill percent. So we're going to go through that in a minute, actually. Support. So let's see, if we take a look here, support is turned off right now. Let's turn adhesion off too. Let's just drag all this to 0. If we hit slice, and then we click preview, preview is going to allow us to take a look at the 3D model while it's still on our computer, while it's still in the slicer. And as you can see, it's not as smooth as the original 3D model because it is accounting for the actual pieces of filament. You can see all of the individual layers here. So if we zoom out a little bit, you will see this bar on the right side of the screen. It says 240 here. That just means that there are 240 layers in this sliced model. If we drag from the top, we can look through every layer. And you can see because I picked 0% infill, it's just hollow, right? Like there's nothing in here. And that is not going to print very well because see right here, it just starts printing in the air. Even if it did somehow pull off printing all this, it would be really weak because it's just thin walls. There's nothing supporting it. So if we go back into prepare and we click back here and we drag the infill up to, let's say 20%. Let's see what the recommended settings. All right, there are no recommended settings in here. That's all right. Let's go with 20%. Let's take a look at that. Slice. So the time did go up a little bit here, went up about 15 minutes, and it is using a little bit more plastic. In this bottom corner, you can see this clock and the time, how long it is estimated to take. This is not always 100% accurate. Um, I find actually it in reality it tends to be a little bit lower. I think that Kira is just overestimating it so that people are happy that it's done sooner, just adjust their expectations. But now if we drag through, it's not hollow anymore. It has this infill. One thing I am noticing, you take a look on the outside, super thin walls. So what I'm going to do, go to custom and walls. I'm going to move that up to 3. And that should be good. Yep, and the time went up even more. Let's go back. So these are the settings I'm using right now. 0.2 millimeter layer height or resolution and 20% infill. And we're going to try that out. So if we go to preview, it's already sliced. Spin around it. Now in the bottom left, we have name. And because this is PLA, I want to make sure I remember that this is PLA. So I'm going to write PLA. And then I like to move the most important information to the front because sometimes on your printer you can't see the entire name depending on how long it is and how big your printer display is. So I'm going to go here and then CE3 Pro just so that I know that it's for the Creality Ender 3 Pro. This one. There we go. You can save it to disk, or if you have your removable SD card, take SD card and just put it into your computer. Your printer might have come with one of these. This is just a USB adapter. So you can put in the SD card and then put it into a USB drive. Here you have it. All right. So now instead of saying save to disk, it says save to removable drive. And click this. And saved to removable drive. File saved, little check mark. Nice. Now, you don't just pull it out yet. Make sure that every time you save something to it, you put your SD card into your computer, even if you don't really do anything with it. Click eject. And now we can safely remove hardware. That's just a little safety trick to make sure nothing bad happens. So we can take out our SD card and go print this out. All right, great job, everybody. Whether or not you think it failed or succeeded, comment a picture of your final result on the post for the Benchies. You can find it in the community. I'd love to see what you made. If it didn't come out perfect, and that's totally fine, it makes sense for one of our first prints, just like mine. We're going to learn how to troubleshoot all of that next week. So make sure you stay tuned if you want to learn how to fix all these issues. Great job today. I'll see you in the next lesson.